to Jonathan Taylor. Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor made a man miss the line of scrimmage and then runs it into pay dirt and a one-handed INT. Are you kidding me? Kenny Moore.
What a play by Nyheim Hines.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice Colts podcast. Derek Larger, I have my friend Lawrence Owen, Colts Law, here with me today. And today we're going to kind of go through some over-under predictions for the 2021 season. We kind of did this last year. A little bit more detail, I think, last year, but, you know, we'll kind of just jump into it. So this year, we'll start, Lawrence, here with Carson Wentz and his numbers. Everybody knows that's just how it's going to end up being this year. So I think a lot of people are betting the under on a lot of different passing yard scenarios for Carson Wentz. Not sure if they're just setting the expectations low or if they think that, you know, there's some other underlying factors that come to that. But there was nearly 4,200 yards from Phillip Rivers last year. I would put a over-under number for Carson Wentz this year at 3,700 passing yards this season. Do you think that is do you think that's going to be a over or under for you?
Oh, I'm gonna go over. I mean, Rivers had, like you said, he had over 4,000 yards and he couldn't even throw it very deep, and he didn't have a strong arm. Accurate as heck, but I think Wentz. I think Colts fans and a lot of other people feel that the Colts are going to be very run heavy, and that's why he's not going to get a lot of numbers. But I mean, they were really run heavy last year too. So, yeah, I think he gets well over 3,700 yards this year. Now, granted, it could go wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, but it's still throwing yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's kind of go into the passing touchdowns here. And, of course, these passing numbers regarding, you know, the receiving scenarios, we'll go. It's kind of, you know, going to tell whether or not you think the receiving is going to do anything with this. But 24 touchdowns with Phillip Rivers last year. Let's say, not including rushing touchdowns from Carson Wentz, let's say 27 passing touchdowns from Carson Wentz, over or under?
I'm going to go a hair under. Now, a little under. Now, if he plays the full season, we could see over. But we don't see Carson Wentz play full seasons very often. Usually he misses a few games here and there. And, I mean, the only time he had over 27 was that 2011 year when he had, I think, 33. So, I just because I don't think he's going to hit the 27 mark, I'd say closer to 25, but I don't mean he's going to have a bad season. It's just he's going to have to play a full season in order to even hit that. Right.
Well, I mean, while we're here on the interception and touchdown numbers, might as well discuss some interceptions. Heck, we'll do sack numbers too, because I'm interested to see what you think with the offensive line as well. Interceptions. Let's say 12 interceptions this year, over, under?
Under. I mean, under 12. Carson Wentz don't throw interceptions, believe it or not. I know he had 15 last year, but that was with an awful team.
Yeah.
And generally before that, you go look at it, it's like 7, 3, 4, 7. I mean, I don't see him throwing over 12 at all.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. You're right. I mean, the touchdown numbers for him every year are never amazing at all, but, you know, the interception numbers are never really that high either, except for this year. So, you know, overall is, you know, still overall productive. Okay, so the Colts quarterbacks were sacked 21 times last year. Now let's go with that number, 21 sacks this year for Carson Wentz, over or under?
I'm going to go over only because he does have that tendency to hold the football a little bit longer than normal, extend plays, things of that nature. It's a double-edged sword, right? So, I mean, do I expect him to get 50 like he had last year? No. But I could see him, with 24, 25, and that's still top 10 in the NFL in least sacked player. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I agree. I think we're going to see a few more sacks this year, just a few, but you're right. That comes with the territory of having a Carson Wentz as your quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to the rushing now. Let's go to the rushing yards. Last year, this team as a whole put up a grand total of 1,996 yards rushing. I'm going to set the number at 2,050, over under.
Barely over.
Barely
2050. Now, we did that without a healthy Marlon Mack after week 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're going to have Taylor, Mack, Hines, Wilkins. I mean, come on. I see the rushing total well over, and I'm going to assume that Carson Wentz is going to add to that a little bit as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I see over. I don't see a whole lot over, but I do see over.
I could see in realistic terms 2,100 to 2,200 because on top of it, you said Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines. We're gonna get Marlon Mack back, who's gonna end up equaling or doing better than the production of a Jordan Wilkins last year. On top of it, you said Carson Wentz, and then here's a guy you didn't mention, Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell, if healthy, we've seen he has the chance to kind of make a couple runs himself. He's got that kind of tendency in him. I mean, I could see a couple games where he busts out a really big run, a couple decent runs. I mean, in that first game, he had 2 rushes for 16 yards all by himself there too. So, Harris Campbell, you have a couple different guys there that you feel like you can do it. And Pittman had 3 runs. It's kind of ironic. A couple of these guys, have some of these rushing games. So, yeah, 2,100 to 2,200 for me seems like a very realistic. And if Jonathan Taylor takes off better than what he did to start last season, we could see even higher than that, to be honest. So that'll be very interesting to go throughout the season.
Now, it's also another situation. I mean, Frank Reich, like you said, he likes to throw those end arounds in and those little short hop, quick passes to tight ends. I mean, Kylan Granson's on the team now. He's one of those guys that knows how to take one of them little quick inside pitches like what you used to see Burton and Ebron do, when they were here. And I believe that you'll see quite a bit of different little trick plays. I mean, DeMichael Harris, Doolin, all these guys, they like doing those wide receiver end arounds and reverses and things like that. So yeah. I mean,
it's good we have a couple different wide receivers and running backs who can do that kind of thing. It's good. It opens up the offense a lot. All right, let's go to touchdowns here. Jonathan Taylor led the way last year, having over half of our rushing touchdowns with 11. Colts ended up with 20. I'm going to put the number out there at 22 rushing touchdowns, over under.
I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I'm going to go over as a team. As a team, I think that you're going to see, like we said, we're going to have a very good run game. And the running backs are going to be fresh. You're going to see a lot of 15, 20-yard runs, especially inside those red zones. I think that the running game is going to be the backbone of the scoring opportunities for this team. So, I could see 22 or more touchdowns rushing this year.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I definitely think Jonathan Taylor gets another 10 this year, and Hines will get a couple. Mack will get a couple. Paris Campbell may get a couple, depending on what he does. Obviously, Carson Wentz may have a couple different design runs at some point, like they did with Jacoby Brissett. So, yeah, I think 22 and above definitely makes a lot of sense. So we already talked about the receiving numbers, so we don't necessarily have to worry about that when we talked about Carson Wentz's numbers. But let's go ahead and talk numbers when it comes to sacks, interceptions, and things like that. So last year, this Colts defense finished the year with 40 sacks. I'm going to say 40 44.5 sacks this year. What do you say, over, under?
I'm going to say over, only because I believe that since there is a lot more speed on the defense now that, some of the older, slower guys are off the team, you're going to see more blitzes, designed blitzes, I think, where you're going to see guys coming in from angles that you're not used to seeing. And guys are going to get home a little bit more often. Do I think our starting defensive ends are going to have 17 sacks like they did last year? Maybe not. But I think that you're going to see a grand total for a team have more sacks than they had last year. So, yeah, I could see him being in the range of 45 to 50 if Eberflus uses that speed and burst that he has out there on that defense this year.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's go to interceptions. Colts finished last year with 15. I'm going to set the number at 20. Over or under?
Under. Last year, we got lucky with intercept. I mean, we played some pretty iffy quarter. I mean, we had 3 of those 15 interceptions against Sam Darnold, right?
Yeah.
We play some really good quarterbacks this year, and we play a zone defense. I think we'll get interceptions. I think we'll have over 12. I just don't see us getting I don't see us getting 15 though.
Okay.
Now, if a lot of these blitzes get home and we do see a massive spike in sacks, that number can change because that'll hurry up a quarterback. But in general, I don't think that we're going to see over 15.
Yeah, I got you. And, ironically enough, I mean, we did 15 last year without Darius Leonard even getting 1. So, kind of crazy to think about, because the year prior, I mean, Darius Leonard had 5 interceptions. So, had a phenomenal year that year in coverage. It wasn't quite the same for him this last year, but, Kenny Moore led the way last year with 4. So it was good on him. Let's go into the fumbles now. Let's go into some fumbles. The Colts said they wanted to force 40 turnovers last year, ended the season with 29. So, they did about 73.5% of what they said they wanted to do. So it wasn't terrible standards, but it certainly wasn't the best that a defense could do. Last year finished the year with 14 fumbles. I'm going to set the bar here. Let's say 16. Over or under?
I think we're going to have an over in forced fumbles. I think we're going to have a very big increase. You just didn't see most of those fumbles. It seemed like it was off quarterback hits, like the safeties and things like that. That's played against bad quarterbacks. This year, I think that we have a little bit more speed, like I said, on defense, and guys are going to be in position to be able to make those punch out, like what we saw from Darius Leonard his rookie year, when he was just punching the ball out left and right, and it was highlight reels of him just winding up and popping it out. Him, Okereke, maybe even some of the defensive ends like Teray or somebody or Pay. I think we're going to have more forced fumbles this year.
All right, I got you. All right, well, let's just go through 2 more numbers here just for giggles here on Rodrigo Blankenship. Last year, made 32 of his field goals and made 43 PATs. Let's say he makes 35 field goals this year. Over or under on that many?
I hope he makes 0 field goals this year.
Okay. Yeah. Right. I would hope so too. Yeah, it would help it would help the offense for sure.
A lot. No. I mean, being 0 made with 0 attempts, that would be okay, and then I don't know, 80 freaking point afters. But no, 35. That's a nice round number. I think we will see him kick more often. I think this year, especially, I understand Frank Reich likes to go forward on fourth down. I think this year he might pull back a little bit on those reins, especially when they're in situations where scoring is almost, a guarantee. Like you're around the 20 or something and it's fourth and 4. I see him kicking the field goal or something this year. Now, if you're at the 48 and it's 4th and 2, he might go for it, but that's a different story. Yeah, I could see Rodrigo hitting that mark this year.
All right, so last number here, and we'll talk about the wins. I had the number set at 10.5, over under for the wins.
Well, I'm gonna say over.
Okay.
I have the Colts in my listing winning or going 11-6, and that was the bottom of the line. I figure they can go anywhere from 11-6. That's if Carson Wentz plays average, up to 14-3. So I'm gonna say over.
Wow, you have a lot higher expectations for this Colts team than I did. I had them at around 10, and I think I had them at 10-7. So I think that was what I was probably going to stick with. I think their floor is 9-8, but I think their ceiling is 12-5, to be honest. So I see that. All right, well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Lawrence for coming on and joining me. Let us know what you guys think of all the numbers. Do you guys think we were under some? Do you think we were over some? Let us know what you think. Thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.